Welcome to Westview Sailing's online RYA Day Skipper shore-based navigation course. I'm Duncan Wells, RYA instructor and features writer for Yachting Monthly. I'll be taking you through the exercises. Today we're going to look at course to steer. You work out a course to steer when you want to get from your current position to a specific destination. Course to steer is proactive. You allow for the effect of the tide and the wind before you set off. We start off by drawing a line from our position, which we call A, to and through our destination, which we call B. Measure the distance from A to B, and bearing in mind the speed at which we expect to travel, establish approximately how long it will take us to sail this distance. If we would make this distance in an hour, then we will use 1 hour of the tidal set and rate. If it'll take us half an hour, we'd use half the hourly tidal rate. And if it takes us 2 hours, we'll be travelling across 2 hours' worth of tide, and we'll have to allow for the set and rate for each hour. We'll stick with a 1 hour plot. We apply this tidal set and rate to our position A to give us the tide line AC. Now we mark off the distance we'll travel during the hour, our boat speed through the water, from C, and where this cuts the AB line, we will call D. You'll notice that we do not join up the end of our tide line C with our destination B. This is the cardinal sin of course to steers. The angle of this line CD is then our course to steer in degrees true. This course will then need to be adjusted for magnetic variation to get to degrees magnetic, and then we will allow for leeway, and finally deviation to get to degrees compass, which the helmsman can steer. So let's do one for real. It's the 5th of October, and we're going to start from position 46 degrees 19 minutes north by 005 degrees 50 minutes west. This is a fix, so we'll mark it with a dot and a circle around it. It's 13:43, and we've just had lunch. And we're going to return to Namley. Our destination will be the Namley Bar beacon. Now the first thing we want to do is to draw a line from our position to and through our destination. And we'll call our start position A and our destination B. This is the line we will be sailing down. And now we need to work out the course to steer. So let's measure the distance from our position to our destination. Look at this over on the latitude scale, and that comes to 6 miles, or just slightly short of it. So if we're going to travel at 6 knots, that's going to take us about an hour. And so we'll be affected by 1 hour of the tide. Now we need to find out which hour of the tide we're sailing on and whether it's springs or neaps, so we can look up the set and rate in the tidal diamonds on the chart or in the tidal stream atlas. I'm not going to go through the detail of this process, as we've covered this in the videos The Tidal Hour Diagram and Tidal Diamonds and the Tidal Stream Atlas. Suffice it to say that sailing from 13:43 to 14:43 on the 5th of October puts us into high water +4 on a spring tide, which gives us a set of 113 degrees and a rate of 2.2 knots. So let's apply this to our start position. With 113 degrees dialed into the plotter, put a position line there, line them up on, that's it, and mark off sufficient to run 2.2 miles down that line. Now with the divider set at 2.2, we can mark off the tide. And I will call this C. Now we need to mark off, on our dividers, the distance we will travel in 1 hour, which we decided was 6 knots. Now placing one end of the dividers at the end of the tide line, we mark off against the AB line where our 6 knots cuts, right there. And we call this D. I did mention that we never join up the end of our tide with our destination, because this doesn't give you the course to steer. The course to steer is the distance you're going to travel in 1 hour, marked off against the AB line at D. See what I mean? That's the destination, and yet over there is actually your course to steer. Now we need to join up C and D and get the bearing of this line, which is 357 degrees. That's 357 degrees true. Now you have the course to steer in degrees true, you need to convert this to magnetic by allowing for variation and then leeway and then deviation. For detail on these, please refer to the videos Magnetic Variation, Leeway and Deviation. Magnetic variation on this chart we can see from the compass rose is 7 degrees west in 2010. So we'll add this to our true course of 357 to give us 004 degrees magnetic. Now if we have a wind, shall we say, from the east at force 4, we'll be sailing on a close reach on starboard tack. And let's allow 5 degrees of leeway, which we'll add to our magnetic course of 004 degrees to give us 009 degrees magnetic. Then we need to see what sort of deviation our steering compass has on this course. Looking at the deviation card for the RYA boat, which you'll find in the back of the training almanac, you can see that at approximately 9 degrees we're running with 3 degrees of westerly deviation. So we'll add this to the 009 degrees magnetic to give us a course to steer of 012 degrees compass. And this we will hand to the helmsman. In fact, if he can steer between 10 degrees and 15 degrees, he'll be doing well. Now we work out how long it will take to get to our destination by dividing the distance AB by the distance AD and multiplying by 60 to give us the time in minutes. You can get a clear idea of whether it'll take you more or less than an hour by looking at your course to steer diagram. And if D falls between A and B, it's going to take you longer than an hour, and if D falls beyond B, it's going to take you less than an hour. In this case, AB is 6 miles, and AD is 5.3 miles. So 6 divided by 5.3 gives us 1.132 times 60, which is 67.9 minutes, or rather an hour and 8 minutes. Finally, we complete the marking up of our chart work. The AB line is our ground track and has 2 arrows. The CD line is our water track and has 1 arrow. And the AC line is our tide line and has 3 arrows. And that is course to steer. Thanks for watching. I'm Duncan Wells, and this has been Westview Sailing's online RYA Day Skipper shore-based navigation course. See you next time.